Hi friends, David here from Above AVL and Learn Stage Lighting. And today we are taking a look at the ADJ WMX1 Mark II and really giving a solid formal review on this that we haven't really done yet. And we're going to walk you through some things that you want to know before you purchase one of these. And of course, if you do, come purchase it through us. Let's dive in. So the WMX1 from ADJ, also known as the Wolfmix W1 in other markets outside of the US, is a remarkable little lighting controller that I honestly can't believe just how much I love it the more we get to use it. It can do a lot, but it does have some limitations. But one of the huge benefits is that it's entirely PC free. You don't have to use a PC, you don't have to use a Mac, no computer, no tablet, nothing. This little interface right here, this is everything. Okay, where you've got buttons for programming, etc. And then you end up going to a playback section. And with the release of the Mark II version, they have made it even more usable and even more helpful with the addition of MIDI input. Okay, so let's cut to the chase. Who cares about the WMX1 and why should you care? The WMX1 Mark II can control up to 4 universes of lights. That's actually quite a lot for a small controller that's reasonably priced. It does so in a group methodology. So you don't really work with lights individually, though you can. You more often work with them in groups. Okay. So if you do a lot of programming of individual lights and not just overall looks, that may mean that the WMX is not right for you. But if you generally work with music or things like that, even churches, really live music, churches, DJ, this can be a really great option, even for some corporate events and things like that. So, what I want to do is show you some examples, show you how it works, tell you our opinions about it, and then dive in. So, the basic gist of the WMX1 is that you essentially have these programming sections here on the left. Okay. So you go in, and for example, we have 3 groups of lights in our lighting rig. We have our focus flexes from ADJ, they're a wash mover. We've got these focus spot 4Zs behind the band. And then we have these pars behind the band as well. And the general gist is you have this homepage where you have like one of each, basically flash button for each group. Okay. Then we have one of each of a color effect. We have one of each of a movement effect for those that move. And that's controlled by the BPM that you can either tap or get from an audio input, or as improved now, can get over MIDI with a MIDI clock, which is super cool. And maybe Ableton link, check the manual on that one. Okay, so you have the ability basically to run these different types of effects and be able to run them together from the keypad. But then, more than just this homepage, which can do a lot, when you really get into things is when you start dialing in. And for each group of your lights, you're able to simply select them, okay? And then be able to work with the parameters of the effect you want. So here, for example, we have an orange and a green effect, and you can see we're lighting up orange and green, and on our lighting rig, we're getting orange and green. If we add in a third color, now it will be a 3-color setup. We can select which lights we want and which we don't. So in this case, I'll undo the focus spots because they don't have color mixing, they have a color wheel. And so programming the different effects in the WMX is overall really simple. As I mentioned, this isn't going to be a full tutorial on that because I don't want to lose your attention. But essentially, you can customize effects. You can bring in movement effects, again, selecting your groups of lights, the ones that can move, selecting different parameters as to how they move, and then adjusting them on the screen with these parameters with the things available on the encoders. Beam effects is going to be generally like intensity, zoom, etc. So you go ahead and you start to build things with effects, and then you also have as noted, you're going to have the ability to do static looks too. And so this is really helpful. Like if I turn off these effects that are running, okay, we're back to standard, and I go to color. This is where things get really cool because you really just, anybody can program the WMX1. You don't need any lighting expertise, any knowledge, etc. You literally just go, for example, like right now where we're kind of violet, violet, amber, right? We can turn that off. We can choose whatever colors we want. So maybe we do green, green, cyan. Okay, that's cool. But we can even take it a step further. So here at the bottom, you can see it says single at the bottom of the screen. And say I take my group of pars and I just start to turn that. Okay, now I'm in every other mode. Now let's select a second color, right? Now every other one is lit, and there are different combinations for fanning and distributions of the different lights that you can select, making it really easy to create some really interesting stuff really quickly. Okay, and that's what we really love about the WMX is how simple and easy it is for anybody who's ever worked with lighting or not to just, go down here and just go, okay, I'm going to select some different points with my lights, with my movers, whatever, and, go ahead, pop a gobo in them and just create the look I want, go down to the preset page, hold shift, and then press our preset, give it a name, and save it. Tap off of it, and now we've recorded that into a preset. Now we can go between our regular and our new preset. And of course, as is really key in lighting, we can do fade times, right? So we can go ahead and set it to there. Set it to a 5-second fade. Set our other one as well to a fade. Okay, and I accidentally just overrode the first one. But we get a nice fade. We're seeing that across here, and I can just go ahead and give them something. Go back to my presets, override my first one. And now we've stored that in a preset. Now I've got our other one. And we have a nice fade between them of 5 seconds. And so, as you can see, the WMX is just really stinking cool just in how easy it is to simply go ahead and select lights in groups primarily, program them into these presets, activate those presets that are named just by pressing them. The thing we've liked about this controller in the past as well as today is we can give this to a customer, whether it's a band, a church, a DJ setup. They can take the time to program out some different scenes in here, make things that look really nice, label them, and then hand it off to someone who's completely untrained. It could just be, a spouse or somebody, a partner who's along for the gig and they don't have anything to do and they're not, they're like, hey, I'll play around with this. They can often just get 5 minutes of introduction and make some really good looking lighting. That's what we've liked about these. What are some of the limitations of the WMX? As I mentioned, you get 8 groups. Okay, so there are 4 groups that you see displayed basically, and then you can shift BPM to see the second half of the groups. And so that's going to be one of the bigger limitations is in general, most of your control happens in groups. Now, groups don't all have to be the same type of fixture. So if you have fixtures, backlight fixtures, and some of them are one type of light and some of them are another, the WMX does a good job of trying to make them do the same thing, even if they're totally different types of fixtures. But that group limitation, it makes it very easy to program. It does introduce some limitation. The positive is that say you go into a venue and they have some backlight and you want to add it to your backlight group that's already programmed in the WMX. You just go into the patch, you patch it, you add it to your existing group, and now you don't have to do any programming. It's going to match all of your existing programming as well as that fixture possibly can. And that's something that you simply don't see in other entry-level lighting controllers. It's really beneficial. The other huge thing, again, is that MIDI capability. Because they introduced a USB-A socket, just a regular USB port on the back, now you can bring in fixtures from the web without connecting to a computer, just using a thumb drive. But more importantly, in my mind, is the ability to use MIDI controllers. Let me demonstrate that now. And so MIDI controllers can work one of two ways. One is you can activate presets with MIDI controller. So if you're running backing tracks or even a foot pedal from stage, you can trigger your lighting scenes in order with your show. This one would probably work better with MIDI from backing tracks, just in the sense that rearranging them for a foot pedal that just goes straight through your set list is not the best. You'd want to have some kind of program in the middle, basically, reordering things for you, such as backing tracks, and then playing those in order, having them sync the lights automatically. The other thing this does is it makes it easy for us to add faders to these controllers, which is huge. And so just as an example here, first I'll just do a scene. So I'm going to take a scene here, preset, and right here where it says MIDI, I'm going to shift and click the encoder, and then I'm going to press a MIDI button, right? Of course, it's going to be opposite of the actual setup. Then I'm going to tap that again. Now I'm going to go over here, shift click, shift MIDI, press the button. Now it's captured, click again. Now, these MIDI buttons fire those presets, and you can see the MIDI controller light up and vice versa. Of course, I totally mapped them exactly opposite of the way they are, so that's how they show up. That's super beneficial for having, a large bank of buttons on a MIDI controller, being able to access more than just the single page 1 out of 5 that you see on the WMX. MIDI controllers are very affordable, and these work really well. You can even adjust the color, which is super cool, by just adjusting the MIDI out, and that will be based on your MIDI controller. But we can also get faders through MIDI, which is super cool. I'll walk you through that quick. So we'll just go to the fixture setup page. Nope. We go to the settings, groups. And then right here, it says MIDI. I'm just going to hit learn. So again, I just scroll down, shift, click, scroll down, shift, click, touch my fader. Back home. Now we can see that we have faders that control our 3 groups completely independently. So now we're really talking. Now this is where it gets me excited as like a legit controller for smaller performances, even corporate events for corporate AV type things, like just having the ability to roll in with a MIDI controller. Very simple. I have a simple 5 fader or an 8 fader MIDI controller, and there's 8 groups in the WMX, so that makes sense. Program out a bunch of scenes of different color looks, all with a front wash, and then you have a fader that you can bring up and down for that wash. It can do the simple stuff really well, but you can also do, some cool chases and things like that and layer them on top. It's worth noting, we've talked a lot actually about using the presets, right? Where you can, play a preset back, right? And get that on your stage. And that's cool. And we can fire between these 2 presets that we've set up with these 5-second fade times to switch between the lighting. That's really cool, but with the ability to have a MIDI controller really introduces better ways to work live. Now, instead of really worrying about naming my presets in the WMX, though that's helpful, I can label them on a MIDI controller. Then I can be in my home screen. I can still switch between those presets, and we see them switching on that 5-second fade. But I can also override things live and on the fly. So I can bring in, like, my color effect is playing right now, okay? But I could go ahead and turn that off and bring in a movement effect, a flash on these lights. Or I could bring in a movement effect. And all of that is happening kind of on top of the preset. When I fire the next preset, it's going to go back, but I could still, override it at will as needed. And so that's where this gets me really excited, because I think for a lot of churches, you could build in your scenes, build in your presets, have a really nice lighting setup that's easy for volunteers to use and understand, and then trigger it from backing tracks or from ProPresenter or something like that, and run your entire service completely PC free on a WMX1. Okay. Bands, like I said, backing tracks, you can trigger presets, or you can have someone just manually run it. A MIDI controller with this WMX1 giving you faders of your 8 groups, plus having the ability to fire presets off a MIDI controller, do things along the beat with your lighting. Just to me, makes this a real winner for a lot of people. Okay. As I mentioned, if you want to get, really in the details of programming individual fixtures and adjusting those values individually, the WMX1 can technically do it here in the live edit section, but it's really not the best tool for it. And so that's something to be aware of. Also, for things like band lighting, you have a button here that makes everything open and strobe. You have a strobe button that makes everything strobe, a blinder button that makes everything white, a speed button, which you can adjust, but by default, it doubles the speed of your fixtures, but you can just simply adjust it. So like here, half speed, half speed, double speed, blackout, and then smoke for smoke machines. You can also set hazers to that. It can be adjustable, basically how you patch it, and you can adjust it to be a button that you hold, like for smoke jets or a regular smoke machine, or you press it, it stays on, and that smoke is now on until I press it again to shut it off. Can work really well for hazers. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this brief introduction and kind of review of the WolfMix WMX1 or the ADJ WMX1 Mark II. It's really a fantastic controller that does a lot of great stuff. It really does. Oh, we're blacked out. I was like, where'd my stage go? It does a lot of great stuff and it does it really well. Is it, if you want really detailed functionality, it might not be the right fit for you. But the fact that you don't need a PC or a Mac, just fully independent on its own, you can build your own fixture profiles, you can download them from the web, and you can request them. And the team is very, very fast at building these. I mean, I'm talking within hours most of the time, even though they technically promise a 2-week turnaround or something like that. So we've been really happy with these on both the previous version and now the Mark II. And it's something you're going to see us recommending more and more in our tutorials here on Learn Stage Lighting by Above AVL, because it can fit so many good use cases. Like, as long as you're not super particular about trying to do super specific things with lighting and you just want to make great events, the WMX1 can be a great pick for, honestly, a lot of different types of events. And so if that sounds good, guys, thank you so much for watching. Give us a big thumbs up, subscribe, and if you're brand new to lighting, head over to learnstagelighting.com. We've got a free guide to begin with lighting that we want to get into your hands. Just enter your email, you'll get it. Then when you need any lighting or AV gear, we are your people at Above AVL. We want to be helpful, we want to be informative, and we want to get you personalized pricing. So add some stuff to your cart, request a quote, feel free to ask via our contact form. We love to help people find the perfect products in both lighting and AV to build the stuff you need in order to make great events. If we can help you make great events, you've made our day. So let us help you. Come over to Above AVL and let us help you with everything you need, both lighting, audio, and video-wise. We love to help. Thank you guys so much for watching and have a great day.